And that's my dog. Oh, and someone's at the door. I will BRB. You know, I shouldn't be surprised, but apparently Amazon makes people work on Labor Day. You know what I call that? I call that bullshit. Now, granted, my job does make us work on Labor Day as well, but I work with animals, so that kind of gets a pass in my opinion. Especially if your dogs are boarding. We'll be starting in a minute. I'm just letting everybody know that I'm streaming. Okie dokie. Let's see. Stream is all set up. Everything's good. I will eventually get a starting soon page. Eventually. But yeah, nope. Started on stuff now. How is everybody doing? How's life been? Has it all been good? My ear is itchy. Had an itchy ear. Everybody doing good. Everybody having a great time today. Having a great life. I am doing alright. I am doing good. I worked today. I work with dogs, so it's not as bad as it could have been. Could have been worse. But you can't really be upset with work when you work with animals. Because that's just what I do. I work with dogs. Which I've said like 50 times now, but I like my job, so I don't mind talking about it a lot. But today, we're not working with dogs. I mean, well, we're not working with dogs right now. Unless you want to count those two that are laying on my bed, because I also have like a bunch. We are instead going to be working on my webcomic. Very excited, because so the current page my comic is on, let me double check, take a quick look here. Oh, I have to actually put these, those there. So the page that just went up was page 25 of my webcomic at the moment. And the page we're currently working on is, almost 25 pages ahead of that. This is actually an update that's going to come out in December, which is around the time that this chapter is going to end. So, yeah. And you can watch me work on the sketch, which, by the way, if you go and want to see pages early, or if you want to see these like sketch pages to know what I work with when I'm working on my regular pages of In Harmony, you can go on my Patreon. I have a nifty little link down below that you could go and follow, and it's great, it's good. You know, you use it to, you can use it for a lot of things. You could use it to, you know, give me a follow. You see 2 weeks in advance. Eventually, when my YouTube channel is eligible for getting subs, I plan on adding another tier on there. So that's going to be for the $2 tier, because I don't think I'm going to like do expensive tiers with my YouTube subs. I think I'm just going to make them really cheap. But you can go, what I'm planning on doing then is I'm planning on making it so people who are at the $2 tier and above can get early access to my videos. So if you like my YouTube stuff, that's something to look forward to. So instead of having to like, when I make my video and I'm like, okay, well, I'm posting it in like 2 days, you can get it right there and then. So yeah. If you think that's cool, stick around for when I do that, which will be once YouTube decides that maybe I should be making money off of my channel. Yeah. We're like partially the way there. The only thing that's keeping me at the moment from being eligible to actually do that is the fact that I don't get enough views on my video every year. So once I hit the video view amount that it needs, then I can do that. Also, if you're like watching and if the music volume is like too loud, please let me know. My headphones are very nice. I have very nice headphones, so the music sounds loud in my ears, even though I have the volume at like 5. But I want to make sure that you guys can hear me over my own music. Which I also have linked down below. It is not my playlist. It is a playlist I asked another streamer if I can use, because I don't have my own playlist yet, but I've slowly been building one. I just don't really have enough music on it for a stream. And they were like, yeah, you could totally use it. And I'm like, great, thanks. I really appreciate it. As much as I like the like lo-fi, like non-copyright jams that I usually play on it, they're not as nice. And also I hate shuffling stuff on YouTube while streaming on YouTube, so it's nice to have like an actual playlist. I'm just really lazy when it comes to some stuff, and it's gonna take me forever to build one. And because of my like living situation, like as much as I'd love to stream all the time, I really can't. I have to maintain a certain level of volume around the family. But today isn't one of those days because they actually are out of town. So I get to scream as much as I want to, and nobody can yell at me for it. I just kicked my sketchbook onto the floor. Gotta love it. But let's see. What to talk about. Yeah, I wanted to stream more for art fight. I didn't end up doing that. My my art fight was actually a fucking mess near the last half of the month, because in the last half of the month, I got attacked by so many people all at once. It was like for every like one or two I got done, I got attacked by like another one or two people, and I was like floundering. I usually do these like really big revenge chains with my friends during our fight, and I actually had to like stop. Like it was one of the friends I made that a video for our fight. Not the first one. It was the right here right now one, and he's one of the people that I usually do big revenge chains for. And then who else? Another one of my real life friends who I usually do big revenge chains for, and then my girlfriend. And I actually had to stop because I was getting attacked by like so many different people that I couldn't continue the chains because my own personal thing. And like, yeah, I know art fight is like one of those things where it's like you don't expect art back from people, which like it's totally reasonable because everybody's got their own stuff and some people just don't want to participate every year. But I like giving people art back. So I feel sad if somebody attacks me and I can't give them art back. Like, it doesn't have to be like immediately, but like, you know, like during art fight at least. And I got so mad because the event was extended a couple days, which was not what I was mad about. And I went on vacation. I mean, I made a whole fucking video about it, but I went to Canada at the beginning of August. And literally while I was in Canada, like a couple of hours before art fight ended, or like, I think it was like half an hour before art fight ended, I had somebody attack me, and it was like part of a mass attack, but they still attacked me then. And I was sitting there, and I was like, God fucking damn it, I'm gonna have to keep this thing bookmarked so I don't forget to attack this person again when art fight rolls around. And it's like so annoying because I just I don't like it. I don't like getting free art from people in art fight and not being able to attack back. I love free art. I love it when people make me fan art. If you want to make me fan art, go ahead and do it. I want to see it. But art fight is like a fun little competitive event, and one of the things what I like about it is because like I can't do like requests all the time because like I'm a busy adult with a lot of shit to do, and as much as like, you know, drawing anybody anything would be fun, that's not like a viable thing I can always do. Hence why commissions are a thing. And mine are typically open just about all the time. But like, what art fight is nice is it makes it fun to just go around and find like a random kid or get attacked by a random kid and then like draw their OC. Because it makes me think of like when I was first starting out and like seeing all these like really big cool artists and just being like, oh yeah, like God, it'd be so cool to get art from like somebody who like draws this good. And I like being that art. I like being that artist who does that during art fight. And so that's one of the things I like about art fight, which is why I don't like it when I somebody attacks me like just when our fight is about to be over and I don't have the time to attack him back. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I just gotta make sure I remember to do it next year. Which is fairly easy because at least like all I have to do is just not delete the attack in my notifications. And so when next year's rolling around and I'm like trying to get my refs, I can be like, oh yeah, this person attacked me. I better go bookmark a character so I can give them a year late revenge. But yeah, that wasn't the reason why I didn't stream as many art fight streams as I wanted to. But I would say like that was like how busy my like end of art fight was this year. It was a fun year. It was a fun art fight year. I wish I could have done more attacks though, because I had like a ton of bookmarked and I was like, there's so many cool characters, I can't wait to draw them all. And I couldn't because I was too busy revenging people. But I gotta pull out my phone and look up a reference for a steering wheel because I I just drew a circle. This is the problem with my sketches. Sometimes I'm like too lazy to like sketch something properly. So I'm like, oh yeah, a circle. That's fine. That's a steering wheel. Let's see. I like the fact that when you look up steering wheel is not the first thing that pops up. What pops up is steering wheel lock. Because apparently people look up that more than steering wheel. So. Okay. Thank you, phone, for the notification. Let's draw a steering wheel. Yeah. So. I also recently this is a very weird set of circumstances that I'm going to have to like explain because I think I've confused my friends with this. So, for people who do follow me on most other social medias, technically if you just follow me on YouTube, you probably already know this, but I recently started watching Murder Drones, and here's my dirty little secret, which is going to make the rest of this story very funny. Today I finally actually finished the last 2 episodes of Murder Drones. So, and I'm not gonna go like super into spoilers or anything, so if you haven't watched it yet and you don't want spoilers, don't worry about it. But there's a so here let me take you like a week back to like understand like how funny this whole thing is. So about a little more than a week ago, the last episode of the Murder Drones series came out. And before this point, I haven't watched the Murder Drones. I knew what it was, and like, because they made the Amazing Digital Circus, so like, naturally, it's like, well, if you heard of Glitch Productions, you're probably going to be aware of their other show that isn't just the Amazing Digital Circus. And, and so, Murder Drones is like, it's a show about like, these robots, and humanity died off, and these like worker bots are like free, but then humans sent these more murderous robots called assembly drones after these like worker robots because they're like defective. And we follow this like teenage girl named Uzi, who is a robot, by the way. A majority of these characters are robots, so if I'm talking about a character, assume they're a robot. At least until you go around watching it, unless you already have watched it. But it's this teenage girl named Uzi, and she hates humans, and she ends up meeting one of these murder drones and befriending him. And there's this like bigger conspiracy, and it's only 8-episode show, and I think it's good for what it is. And yeah, so that's that. So here's how I got into it. I got into it because so last year I stopped using TikTok so much because it was making me sad and depressed. But then earlier this year, I started getting back into it, which I probably shouldn't have, but too late for that. And I've been browsing through TikTok. Excuse me. I've been browsing through TikTok again, which I probably shouldn't have, but I've been doing it. And why is this being weird? Hold on a second. There we go. So anyway, so I've been browsing through TikTok again, and TikTok likes to recommend me like random stuff from like shows or whatever. Like, it recommended me, like, for example, like last month, it recommended me this one music artist named Yellowker, who, if you've been on TikTok, like, you probably might have seen their stuff because they got really popular on TikTok and Twitter. But they're like a folk musician, and they got like a little story with their characters for the like folk stuff that they write. Like, and that's how I found out about this, because TikTok recommended me their account, and I was like, oh yeah, this person likes Far Cry, I'm gonna follow them. Oh, and they do music, that's pretty cool. Oh, why is this constantly recommending me Yellowker stuff? Okay, which is fine and dandy, but like, you get the picture. That's how like TikTok recommended me something. So I was browsing through it last week, around the time that the last episode of Murder Drones came out, and it was showing me clips. It was showing me clips from the last episode of Murder Drones, and it kept showing me clips of specifically this one character who is like I'm not gonna say too much about like who they are, but it's this one character named Sin, like Cyn. And it kept showing me like these like video clips from this episode with this character named Sin, who let me pull her up because I actually drew her very recently. Give me a second. Yeah, so this is the character. This is Sin. As you can notice, she is wearing a skin suit. Oh geez, I didn't realize that I did that. Oops. She is wearing a skin suit. And yeah, she pretty much is like, you know, the like murdery type, as you could probably tell by the fact that she is literally wearing a skin suit. I saw this character and I was like, oh, her design's kind of cute. She's kind of cute. I like that. Moving on with my day. And then TikTok's like, you spent enough time on a Murder Drones video. Would you like more Sin? And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of liking this lady's deal. What she got going on? And TikTok's like, well, glad you asked. Anyway, here's some more Sin videos. So it kept recommending me Sin stuff. And I was like, I'm really liking this character. I should maybe go watch Murder Drones. So I started watching Murder Drones. Okay, I need to say like two things that are so funny about this. The first one is the fact that like outside of this character, I'm pretty ambivalent towards Murder Drones. Like, I thought the like pilot episode was kind of like, compared to the rest of the show, was kind of hot garbage, but like all the other episodes after the pilot episode are pretty good. I think the pilot episode is the worst one, but like, it's like the plot's alright. The plot's alright. The characters are okay. Except for Sin, of course. Sin is awesome because Sin is my favorite character. And so I'm literally just like, oh yeah, I like drawing fan art for this show, but only if it's specifically this one character in this show that like I probably wouldn't have watched like for like another like 20 years, knowing my track record. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing about it. And also the fact that I was drawing so much fan art for this character leading up to like today when I finally actually finished watching Murder Drones. And then the second thing about that is I realized something as I was watching like Murder Drones and like you know, Like being like, why am I super into this character? Why do I like this character so much? This isn't the first time this has happened. But specifically, this isn't the first time that this has happened with a character who has a funny voice, who's a bit murderous, basically just a little freak, and wears a skin suit. A character that TikToker showed me a lot of to make me go like, maybe I will get into this piece of media. And if you don't know who I'm talking specifically about Nikola Orsanov from the Magnus Archives, because so the thing that made me finally go and listen to the Magnus Archives was that, because Nikola probably would have, it wasn't for the fact that I was in the middle of my SCP Archives re-listen, but the thing that made me finally go and listen to the Magnus Archives, this hand is just not cooperating with me, is, what finally made me go listen to the Magnus Archives was because I had found out that Karim Kronfli played a character in it. Granted, I didn't know which character he played, and I also didn't know that said character doesn't show up till season 4. But I was super hyped up about it because he's like my favorite voice actor in the SCP Archives. At least at the time, there's a lot of good voice actors in the SCP Archives. And this was like very into like my podcast listening, so I didn't know a lot of different voice actors in the podcasting community. And I'm just gonna do something different with this hand because this hand is not working out. This hand just does not want to do anything right now. Okay, Simon, we're gonna have to figure out what to do with your whole situation. And speaking of Simon, this guy's name is also Simon. Yeah, I realized this is not the first time this has happened. So if you ever want to get me into a piece of media, it has to have a little freak with a skin suit and a funny voice. And if it doesn't, then I'm sorry, your media just isn't that good. Like, yeah. Which is probably how I also got into the Locked Tomb. But I don't think there's anybody. I mean, like humans, I guess, are skin suits, and Locked Tomb is about necromancers. That isn't how I got into the Locked Tomb. People just kept recommending me it, and then one of my friends bought me Gideon the Ninth. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll go and read it, and I did, and it's very good. So if you haven't listened to, I said listen. I have podcast brain. If you haven't read Gideon the Ninth or like any of the Locked Tomb series, you should. It's lesbian necromancers in space. And it's about the Locked Tomb is very interesting because it's like, yeah, it's very gay. There's lesbian necromancers, there's polyamorous old people, you know, all that jazz. Very good, very nice, very cool. But there's like, it's like you think it's like, oh, so there's romance. There isn't any romance. It is a very gay book. The book series is so gay. But there's like no romance. which surprises me a lot for that. And I honestly don't really mind it. I don't mind it at all because I think the story is better without it. I mean, if they added any like lots of romance to it, then like I wouldn't really mind. But like I like the fact that the focus isn't on like, you know, characters romancing each other. I mean, there is some romance to it because I can't like, because Hera Hark's got like a whole thing going on that I won't spoil for anybody who hasn't read the books, but like, yeah. Rambling on the Locked Tomb too, because I'm almost done with Nona the Ninth. It's that's like the big book series that I've read this year is the Locked Tomb. Because I started Gideon the Ninth earlier this year, took a break from the series to read another book that I got. Then I read Harrow the Ninth, and then I read some other books. Took a break from Art Fight specifically to focus on drawing, and came back to go read Nona the Ninth. So yeah. Now I'm almost done with Nona the Ninth, and the Suffering game came out for Taz, so I think when I'm done with that, I'm gonna get myself a copy of that. I just have hiccups. And, go and do that. And then, let's see, what else am I gonna do after that? I also need to get my hands on the copies of, I just put the window on backwards, whoops. I also need to get my hands on those fucking Elden Ring mangas. I just haven't been to a bookstore since I got back from Canada. I need my Elden Ring manga. I need to know what the stupid idiot protagonist from the manga is doing. I know I could go read it online, I just don't want to. I don't want to read it online. But yeah, I like Nona the Ninth. Nona's adorable. She's a very good protagonist. I hope nothing bad happens to her. I'm almost done with the book. Like, what else? What else? Is there anything else big happening in my life? Or is there anything else big happening in your guys' lives? Do you guys got stuff going on? Anything cool? I'm like being super lazy with the line art on this. I am back in school, which is cool. I am a senior in college now. That's nice. I have to. Actually, and I'm gonna try. I'm not gonna promise it, but I'm going to try. I am going to be, so I'm a senior in college and I'm an animation major, and so my school's not an art school, my school is a STEM school. And I have to say that because it's not, like I said, it's not art focused, it's a STEM school. But it has like a pretty big like art program, which is nice. Which is the reason why I went to it after dropping out of SCAD, so... But, so everybody who's, like, in, like, any of the art programs at my school technically is under one major. It's just the concentration is more specific. So we don't have, like... So it's not, like... Technically, it's not, like, you're an animation major. It basically is the exact same thing, but they label it as, like, visual arts and your concentration is animation. And they do it for all the stuff that, like, they offer. Like, they don't offer everything. Like, my school is not the greatest place to go to if you want, like, a degree in game design. And so, you know, and I'm there for animation. So that's the reason why I went there, for just to get my animation degree. And it's cheaper and closer to where I live. Anyway. That is to say, school started, but because I'm a senior and because I'm a visual arts major, I am required to do something that the school calls a senior project. And it's very vague, but it essentially is just like, you can do whatever you want, but you gotta present it at the end of the year, and they got like some requirements for like what you can do. So, because I'm an animation major, I mean, it's funny because some of my animation classmates did comics, but because I'm an animation major and, you know, I'm trying to get a career in animation, I am doing an animation for my concentration. And it's funny because I think animation is the only one they have like strict limits to. Like, they're like, okay, you can do an animation, but you can't make it longer than 2 minutes, which I think mine is going to be, and I know some people who submitted longer than 2-minute animations. Fully finished products, mind you. But I have mine figured out. I'm got some concept stuff I have to get done, but I also have to get, like, the animatic done. I got all the thumbnails done for it. Like, you can't see it, but in my room, I literally have it hanging up on my wall next to my laptop. Is a like two big pieces of paper with a bunch of sticky notes on it. Those are my thumbnails, and it's gonna be my short film. I just have to work on the animatic for it, and I want to get the animatic completely done by next year, so I can spend all of the senior project class, because I'm taking that next semester, to literally just work on the animation itself. But I'm doing a short film. The title of it is called We Ignored the Signs. It is going to be a sci-fi horror film. about a scientist's last log talking about the reasons why him and his crew abandoned a space colony. And it's gonna be great. I got in contact with a person who I may have talked about before, who is going to narrate as the main character, and it's gonna be awesome, and I'm very excited, and I can't wait to work on it. The only reason I am not working on it today is because I don't really want to. I always get like a page of InHarmony done a week. Sometimes two, but I hold myself to at least get one page done a week. And so that's why I'm working on it, because it's Monday, and I usually work on a new page starting Monday, get a page done, and then work on other stuff. I would like to update InHarmony more, because like I can get like a page done in a day, or I can get a page done in like a couple of days, and it'd be like, well, I would like to draw another page. The issue is my school. With school being a thing, especially now that I'm going to be doing this capstone film, I can't really put too much time into just making comic pages and committing to 2 updates a week, as much as I'd love to. Because I've been thinking about it, and like I said, we're like halfway through the chapter now. This page that I'm working on is like literally one of the last 10 pages of the... if you could probably tell from the title, it's one of the last 10 pages of this chapter. So, yeah, I can't put that much time into it as much as I'd love to. One of my goals, like once I finish chapter 2, is to build a big enough of a buffer that if I have to take a hiatus specifically to focus on my short film, I can at least put a nice big enough buffer so I can keep doing updates. And then I only have to do like a short no posting pages hiatus so I can catch up on my buffer, and that's it. Which is my hopes, my dreams, my goals, maybe, possibly. But I don't know. We will have to see. But I hope you guys are excited to see it, as I am excited to share it. And I mentioned it in the with the topic of streaming, because I would like to stream myself working on it. My only issue with streaming myself working on it is remembering to stream while I'm working on it. I also want to put it out there, because I have been thinking about it, and I promise I have not forgotten. I do plan on going back to streaming Fallout soon. I took a break specifically because of Art Fight, and then I've just been like really busy to do something that I want to do in the game before I go back to streaming it. I'll probably try to make time for it later this week, because like of all the fact that Labor Day is a thing, and my semester started in the middle of the week. Like, this week and next week, I'm going to be having my, first day of this class, let's go over the syllabus, let's go over, like, the goals, let's go over what we're gonna be doing in this class, yada yada yada, stuff. So I might actually have some time some days. But, like, none of my classes have really given homework. I do have homework for one class, but the, well, it's both of the classes I've been to so far, because I've only been to 2 of my classes so far. But the one class was just like, think of something you want to draw. Because I am drawing in code. I'm doing a real-time animation class, so a lot of our art is literally going to be coded. That's gonna be very fun, because I have a game design degree, and I took 2 coding classes, and I hated them both. But, yeah. Very excited about that. Also, Pacific, I need to remember what you're saying. I don't have the text bubbles on here yet, but I do have my sketchbook. Number 4. Okay, yeah, I knew there was something off about this. I was not following my own sketch at all. Pacific, your eyebrows should not be like that. I knew something was really weird about this panel. was like, this doesn't feel right to me. There we go. Yay! Pacific, you look more fixed than before. Loudly slurping some soda. Did I have... Yeah, the door's still open. Okay. Let's put you here. You are too thin. Let's put you here. That's better. Yay! God, I love making comics. Honestly, that's like one of the things that I love with this, with working on this comic is like, I don't think my comic pages have ever looked as pretty as they did before I started working on In Harmony. And that makes me like so incredibly happy because like, I could actually probably pull one open. Let me see if I have any still. Yeah, like, last time I did like quote-unquote pretty comic pages. Let me find a good one. Oh god, these are so old. Okay, so let me preface this by saying that these are from 2018. Yeah, this is from 2018. This is what my comic pages looked like. Oh god, they're so bad comparatively. They're so bad. Wait, hold on, let me see if I can find... Let me find another one that isn't so dark. I want a good one. I just don't want a bad... Okay, actually, this one's fine. Okay, so yeah. Here's a comic page from 2018. Let me pull up a more recent page. Let me pull up the most recent page. So if you're not caught up in Harmony, I am sorry, but I am putting up the most recent page that just came out. So, yeah, okay. So, 2018. These are my comic pages. Then you go to 2024. Like, wow. It looks so nice. And if you want to get into more detail, hold on a second. Let me pull up one that's less recent. This is a pretty good one. So, 2018, 2024. Just, I love that. Especially if you compare it to Not Quite Somewhere Else. But in my defense with Not Quite Somewhere Else, I specifically made that comic with the like mindset, because this was before like I was like super into like working on like a fan comic, because I was like, oh man, well, I have this idea for this thing, I might as well work on it. Was when I first decided, okay, I'm gonna continue Not Quite Somewhere Else, was I'm gonna put the amount of effort that I like mentally can put into each panel as I draw it. And hold on a second. I heard noises. Okay, I don't know what that was about, but I was concerned because I am supposed to be home alone. So, anyway, I I put the amount of effort that I put into each page of Not Quite Somewhere Else is just basically like what I can mentally do at that moment. So that's why you'll get like some pages of Not Quite Somewhere Else where it's like, oh, these panels look so great and like, you know, the quality's really nice. And then you get some panels that look like shit. Or even some pages that look like shit. Or some updates that look like shit. And like, the reason for it is because it's like I say it, I've been saying it a lot recently, I know, but like I also kind of have to like reiterate it. Like, I like Not Quite Somewhere Else. I like working on Not Quite Somewhere Else. I like the story. I intend on finishing the story. But it's not my priority. And like my own original work now is my priority, because like I don't want to be like a fan artist only. I want to make my own stuff, and I think I'm having so much fun with my own webcomic. I'm like so excited to get to some other stuff. I will get into that in a minute, but with Not Quite Somewhere Else, it's like I know where the story's gonna end. I know how it's gonna end. I have every single part from like where we're currently at to the very end of the comic planned out. We are. Let me take a quick look for a second. Hold on, just one quick second. I'm not gonna give you guys the exact number just because I don't want to like get people's hopes up too much, or like get people to like. I kind of want to keep it a little bit of a secret for my own sake, just because I think it'd be fun. But I have 1, 2. 6. 18. Oh wait, hold on a second. Did I miscount? Hold on. Okay, I don't have it completely. Okay, so I thought I had every single part figured out. Apparently I'm missing a couple. But, let's just say that number is less than 20. So yeah, less than 20 more parts of Not Quite Somewhere Else before the comic is finished. Which is probably like, wow, that's still like 15 updates that you've done for... That's like almost 50 updates in total for a webcomic. And it's like, yeah, Not Quite Somewhere Else is roughly like 300 pages long. It is a big boy comic. It is going to get finished though. I don't want to leave it unfinished. My issue with Not Quite Somewhere Else at the moment is like, because usually I've been trying to get update at the month, and I'm like finally getting to the point with the comic where it's like if updates take a little bit longer, I am fine with that. But I don't want to get like too lax into that, because I feel like that's like recipe for me being like, maybe I don't have to finish it, and I am going to finish it regardless. I want to get it finished so I have like something that is finished, and because I enjoy the story enough and I love the characters, so I'm going to finish it regardless. But yeah, that's something. And before you ask, no, I am not doing something with the Magnus Protocol in Infinity Train. Fuck that. I'm not doing it. I like the Magnus Protocol. I am enjoying it. I am enjoying it for what it is right now. I would rather lick dirt than do another Not Quite Somewhere Else, but this time with Sam and Alice, or Sam and Celia, or you know, whoever decides to join in, because I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with another fan comic. I mean, like, okay, I don't want to say I don't want to deal with another fan comic, because I have a video planned out in the future specifically that relies on me drawing a fan comic. Just like a short one, not Not Quite Somewhere Else sized. Thank God, it's a mini like oh yeah, let me write this thing really quick. But like I don't want to do like another Not Quite Somewhere Else length fan comic. Yeah. Yes. Speaking of fan comic, yeah, I'm doing another Elden Ring. Like, I have one that I'm already working on, but that one's kind of like, that one's just been something that I've been like, kind of like, um, oh, what's the right word for it? Kind of like messing with whenever something else isn't really striking my fancy, and I'm like in the mood for it. It's a comic that I started specifically just to like write out some feelings, and now excuse me. Now whenever those feelings come back up, I go back and I work on it a little bit more. At least until it's finished. I think I'm on like, it's like 4 pages long. I think I'm on page 3 of it, so eventually I'll post it when it's done, but that probably isn't going to be for a hot minute. But I have another one planned that's like actually more about my Tarnished and Ronnie. I'm doing one of the things I've been wanting to do, and I don't want to do a lot of them, but like I've been like, especially since Shadow of the Erd Tree came out really recently, I've been thinking a lot about Horus's story, because if I go on like a little Elden Ring rant for a moment, I've been thinking a lot about Horus's story, and like Horus's backstory was that they weren't born in the Lands Between. They were actually born after the Tarnished were exiled from the Lands Between by Queen Marika, and their parents are both fundamentalists. So they're like, very like gung-ho about the Golden Order. And so when Horus was a child, they were very gung-ho about the Golden Order. And Horus was very gung-ho about the Golden Order. And when they got older, they basically moved out, and they took the go into the Lands Between, go fight. Go outside the Lands Between, go fight, go die, and then eventually I'll give you guys your grace back. And Horus took that to heart and ended up joining a pirate ship crew that was sailing around the oceans outside the Land Between. But they joined this pirate ship crew, and the crew that they were a part of was very, unlike with Horus, they were very unhappy with Queen Marika. They were very much like the kind of people who are just kind of like, a lot of them are from the Lands Between, and they're pretty pissed off with like getting kicked out. Some of them kind of aren't really interested in going back to the Lands Between for similar reasons. And then their captain hires this fucking kid on their ship who's just like, I can't wait to go back and see the Erd Tree and do this for the first time and do that. And these people are just like, I don't like this person. Which I say Horus is a kid. Horus is not a kid. Horus is like in their 40s. But so Horus was a part of that crew for a while, and they generally weren't liked specifically because, to put it nicely, their crew thought they were very annoying. And they had an incident stopping for the night where Horus may have met the Three Fingers. I'm saying that as a question mark, but something really freaky with the Frenzy Flames happened with them. And whatever it was, because Horus doesn't remember it, it freaked them out so bad that they basically tied up Horus and were just like, what do we do with this person and how do we get rid of them? And they ended up just shooting them. They basically used Horus for target practice, if I want to put it in the literal sense. So yeah, they ended up using Horus for target practice. Horus got killed, and then the events of Elden Ring starts, and the Tarnished comes back to the Lands Between. Except Horus isn't from the Lands Between, but Horus wakes up in the church, and the rest is history. And so that brings up with the fact that Horus's ending, like their canonical ending for Elden Ring that I gave them, is that they do end up becoming Ranni's consort. And that was the one thing that I think kind of got me with like writing them for a while until the DLC was like, okay, so Horace is was from a fundamentalist family, and for a while was a fundamentalist too. And also, that's also like kind of how I like put a part of their backstory into how I have them built. If you look at my Elden Ring stats, like in the game, I built Horace to be a very dexterous character as well as a very faithful character. Those are their two highest stats. So they have a very high dexterity, a very high faith, and so that's why I like written them the way that they are. But like I also was like having trouble justifying like the exact reason that that Horace would side with Ronnie, even though like, you know, they grew up and also believed in the whole Golden Order. So why would they abandon that for this person who essentially started the events in the game? And I was like thinking about it, and like part of what I originally went with, which is still very much the case, is that the one thing is that Horace wasn't really enjoying their time in the Lands Between. Mostly just not specifically because like, oh no, everything in this area is trying to kill you, but more so of the fact that like there's so much suffering happening in the Lands Between, and a lot of it is because of Marika and the stuff she did, and you know, part of it is also Ronnie's fault, and part of it is also like so-and-so demigod's fault. But Horace was having like kind of like a hard time, like I would say like kind of like dealing with it, and we're starting to like question like, do I actually even want to be Elden Lord? Because like, do I want to deal with having to fix this? Do I want to deal with like the like horrible possibility of becoming a new conduit to people suffering in this like incredibly broken land that like I'm descended from? Like, do I want to be a part of that? And that like became like a crisis of faith for them. I'm gonna drink something really quick. Hold on. And so, yeah, that became like a huge crisis of faith for them. And so, and it very much still is. It very much still is. And they meet Ronnie specifically. I haven't decided if they go and meet Ronnie because of Rajier's quest, or if they go and meet Ronnie because they were just wandering around and they just ended up finding her. Obviously, they met her at the beginning of the game when she's like, oh, I'm Rena the witch, and I also need to give you this bell. Anyway, bye. Yeah, they meet her then, but I haven't really decided like if they go through with it. I'm kind of like leaning into the like Horace literally was just wandering around, found the Carrion Castle, and then just happened to find Ronnie there. Only because I think it fits in more into what the reason why I like have Horace start falling for Ronnie, which is specifically because she doesn't really ask anything of them. Like a lot of like because it's like the thing with like Elden Ring is like you're given a very big ask like right at the beginning of the game. It's not like with Bloodborne, where Bloodborne is just like, oh yeah, you're in a fucked up nightmare. Escape. Like Elden Ring is very much doing like, do this completely impossible task that like all these other people are also trying to do. And also, like, you know, deal with, like, all these horrible things that these people in this land are going through. Like, you can, like, ruin some of these characters' lives if you do some of their quests. Like, Selen, for one. Like, she becomes, like, a fucking, like, monster statue thing. If you do her, quest line. And, like, you know, in the process, you could kill Jaren. Or you could kill Selen and help out Jaren, whichever you want to do. And like, there's like some characters who like thank you for it, like Millicent and Alexander, but like what like Horace likes with Ronnie's quest, well, not just with Ronnie's quest, but also with just Ronnie, is Ronnie doesn't really ask you of anything. She's not like, she like gives you an offer, like, do you want to work for me? And it's like, yes, and she's like, okay. And then when she's done, she's like, okay, you go do your own thing. And the rest of her quest line is something that you specifically like have to follow her with. And then she gets pissed off at you for following, and she's like, why are you sticking around? You're done. You don't have to be here. And like, one of the things that I like about it, what I like about with that is she's just such a fun character. I love Ronnie. Guys, Ronnie's great. She's not my favorite character. She's like my second favorite, next to Morgoth, because I love sad goat dad, but she's great. Anyway, what does this have to do with Horace? But yeah, like, I think that's like the thing that like, at least draws Horace towards her, is like, Horace is like, you asked me to do stuff and you don't expect me to do anything. You're just kind of like, whatever. And it's like, it's like, I don't know, I think like, that's just like their thought process with it. And like, but like, I also don't want it to be immediate, because here's also the thing with Horace. Like I said, Horace is a Golden Order fan kid. Like, they grew up with that. That's gonna naturally be like, you know, that you can't just like immediately unbelieve your beliefs. And with you know, with that in question, it's like, once, you know, Horace finds out who Ronnie is, it's like, well, with like the kind of person Horace is prior to like doing this route, like, Horace would be furious with Ronnie, if anything, because it's like, this is the person that like destroyed everything. And like, it's not the reason that the Tarnished are in the Lands Between anymore, obviously, but would have like, you know, contributed to like Horace being like super distrustful of her. So I was like thinking about it for a bit, like, what exactly would Horace do? And like, I kind of like, based just from like everything with the DLC, like what I came off like as the conclusion to like how Horace would get to the point where like Horace would go from like, you know, caring about Ronnie to being like, hey, let's get married, bro. Is I think Horace would have originally worked for Ronnie because they would have been like super freaking suspicious of her. And her being like, oh yeah, I'm Ronnie. And they would have been like, I gotta fucking know. Guys, I need to fix something really quick. Let's see. Let me just go in here. And let's go at there we go. Let's see. Let's go here. And there we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to block somebody. Anywho, let me see. What was I talking about? I was talking about Horace. Oh yeah, Horace would have been like extremely super suspicious of Ronnie. Like they would have been like, oh, like, you know, this person who started this whole plot, bad. I need to make sure, like, you know, she's not gonna do something else to fuck everything up. And I think what Horace would have done, and this is like taking up everything I've decided on with their story all the way up to the end of all the way up to the DLC. Is I think what Horace would have done is Horace would have done Ronnie's like missions and stuff where she's like trying to get into the fucking hell underground place where Moog is hiding out at. I can't say the name of it for some reason. Anyway, he would have done everything. They would have done everything to get there, and they would have, you know, fought Radon. They would have gotten the finger blade. They would have gotten, you know, they would have gotten that. But they wouldn't give it to her. I think what they would have done is they would have kept it, and then they would have been like, oh shit, she's gonna get pissed off at me, and she's already got like an angry wolf man doing her bidding. I gotta skedaddle. And I think that would have led to like a period of time where Horace like runs off to go figure out like, you know, what they're gonna do once, you know, go figure out what they're gonna do once they go and, what's the word? Sorry, I'm having like brain poop right now. Like, you know, figure out what they're gonna do with the thing and being like, oh well, shit, I was helping out Ronnie, and like now she knows that, like, she might like either. Maybe I can make her think I haven't done the thing yet, but, like, for now, I took the thing that she wants, and I'm not giving it to her, so what do I do? And... so, here's another thing about me. So, the only, like, FromSoft games I have ever played, and beaten, I've beaten them both, is Elden Ring and Bloodborne. Those are... my sister owns Dark Souls 3, but I haven't played Dark Souls 3, and she also hasn't played Dark Souls 3 yet, because she wants to beat Elden Ring first, and I'm currently about to beat my second run on a New Game Plus account of Elden Ring. But, yeah, so technically kinda have Dark Souls 3, haven't played Dark Souls 3. The only FromSoft games I've ever played and beaten are Elden Ring and Bloodborne. Which is really funny, because apparently, according to everybody that I've heard from, Bloodborne is harder than Dark Souls, but don't take my word for it, because I've never played Dark Souls. And so, it's kind of, I don't know, this is kind of cringe, but, you know what, I am cringe and I am free. My Bloodborne character, and canonically in their storyline, does show up in the Lands Between. And I need you to listen to me. I need you to listen to my justification for it before you judge me about it. So, Dark Souls has... Dark Souls, not Dark Souls, it's Bloodborne. Bloodborne has 3 canonical endings. It has the ending where you replace the, like, old hunter who, like, you know, basically tells you what to do. It has the it has the harder to get ending, which is next time I play Bloodborne, the one I'm gonna try to get, because I actually haven't gotten this one. Where you basically become an Eldritch God. But like in the form of a slug. You become a slug. Anyway. And in the one that is canonical to my Bloodborne character, Margot's ending, is the ending where you get killed by the old hunter at the end of Bloodborne, and like the implication is that you wake up from the nightmare that you're stuck in. And that is the canonical ending for Margot. Which is funny, because Margot is very much the kind of character who totally would become an Eldritch God, but in this case they don't. So here's Margot's story. How does Margot get to the Lands Between? Well, Margot, like Horace, has amnesia, but unlike Horace, Margot's amnesia is very much like, I don't remember anything much else about me other than, like, my past and maybe some, like, key aspects about myself, but everything else is very much like, I don't know, in terms of, like, my own history. At the start of Bloodborne. Like, Margot does not remember anything about themselves, their past is completely mysterious to them. And, Margot, like, you know, Margot doesn't really fucking care. Margot's just like, okay, I have amnesia, well, I'm gonna go off and kill things, because Margot does have, like, an affinity for blood. And Margot wakes up in the lands between, is like, great, round 2, let's go. I am the only asshole here with a gun. And I bring up the blood thing for Margot, not because it's like a mechanic in Bloodborne, or well, just because it's a mechanic in Bloodborne, but because, Margot does hear about the thing with Moog. And I do have, like, Margot canonically, like, meets Horace, and, like, they get at least acquainted with each other. So, here's how Margot's story progresses from there, and then also, like, how, in my head, how Horace makes their way over to the shadow world, this, you know, Shadowlands, is that Margot is the one who actually approaches them, and Margot's like, hey, so, I was acquainted with, this guy named Vere, you know, creepy hands guy, and he, like, sent me on, like, a bunch of, like, you know, to go off and do a bunch of shit, but I have access to this place. Did you want to come with? Because, this guy kind of sucks, and also, like, I think I could do a better job at being, like, a Lord of Blood versus Moog. Like, just literally, because, like, Margot's thing also is, like, Margot's a bit of an asshole. Margot's not a nice person, and they're not really a good person. They're not it's kind of like a bad guy who's not a bad guy. Like, Margot's like, I'm a villain with standards, but, so yeah, Margot's just basically like, hey, I heard there's a blood cult. I'm going to take the blood cult. I want to be the leader of this blood cult. Help me get it. Help me get access to the blood cult, please. Like, that's Margot's thing. And Margot gets Horace in on it, and Horace is like, well, I'm trying to run away from Ronnie, so sure, why not? And then they're at Mogwyn Dynasty, they run into Lita, who's like, yo, I'm going off to go find Mikola. Are you guys off to go find Mikola? And Margot's like, no, I just want to be in the blood cult, lol. But, like, I want to, like, be the, like, honorary leader of the blood cult. And Horace is like, I'm just here because I'm trying not to get killed by a pretty lady. And, you know, and then Alita's like, great, let's kill Moog. So they go off and do that, and then, like, Leo's like, you want to go, like, help out Mikola? And Horace is like, that sounds like a great idea. And Margot's like, lol, no, I'm just gonna stick around here and, I don't know, fucking make myself like a bloodbath or whatever. Margot goes off and do their own thing. But yeah, Margot gets a blood cult, but by stealing it from another freaking crazy blood person. And so that's like how I have it with, like, Horace getting into the Shadowlands. And I always keep forgetting which way this window is. But it's through the DLC that, like, I think would be, like, where Horace gets, like, their turning point of being like, you know, maybe Ronnie's right, and maybe you know, maybe the Golden Order isn't where it's at, and it's specifically with the stuff with Mikola. Which I got on a whole other rant about Mikola because I have opinions. Anyway. But I think, like, through that, like, Horace loves the idea of, like, compassionate world, you know, build a new order, and, like, you know, buys into, like, Mikola's idea of, like, the Golden Order doesn't work because it hurts so many people in the process of its like conception. And like all you have to do is just look at like what Marika did in the Shadowlands and to the Horn Scent and to even to Mesmer to like understand that. Which is like, yeah. But I don't think mind controlling your siblings and having one of them commit some pretty gnarly stuff to you is like the way to go about it. And so I think it's like through that like this like going through that area and like seeing like the what's the right word, like seeing the like the culmination of like everything Marika has done and like just like the people she built her order on top of, as fucked up as like what happened to her and the rest of the shamans was, but leading to like a whole genocide of a people that leads to an order that like considers your own kids to be subhuman. I think that's like where the point Horus kind of realizes like, oh, like this thing that like I grew up so tremendously believing in is fundamentally flawed. And that puts like a different perspective on it of just like okay, so this thing that I believed in is flawed. And now I'm like in like a worse like spot before of like, well, what do I do with myself? And like, you got the whole thing with like Miquella's charm supposedly working on your character before getting broken, but like I don't think Horus would fall for Miquella's stuff for extent, especially after meeting Saint Trina. Specifically because on like a fun like, so okay, let me go on to my controversial opinion about Miquella. After playing through this DLC, I don't think Miquella is a bad person, but I don't think Miquella's actions are good. If you want to know like what I think about Miquella, is I think Miquella's actions to me read very much as a child who has a very baseline idea on how they think the world should work. Which to me makes a lot of sense, considering that Miquella's the biggest thing known about Miquella is that they were permanently stuck as a child as a part of a curse because they're the product of self-cest. So it makes sense that that they would think like that. And it's like, oh, but Miquella did all this, like, all this stuff. That does not stop Miquella from being a child. And like, yeah, Miquella's like this kind character. But I think with Miquella's actions and about how Miquella decided that they want to go about with his, like, the order that he's trying to create it's not really an order of consent. It's very much just like, well, I have the power to make people do things, and all these people are doing bad things, and so if I have this power to forcibly make people not do horrible things, then I can go and make people not do horrible things, even if that means that they do not have control of themselves anymore. And like, yeah, it's a very, like, to me, it reads as a very childish way of like thinking about how the world works. Which would make sense for a character like Miquella, who has never had the opportunity to grow up and have the chance of maturing. Because at least with like what the DLC portrays with Miquella, it seems to me that Miquella just like went straight into like going into adulthood after they were able to literally rip themselves from the inside out to get rid of like every single important aspect about them. in order to like ascend to this godhood that they're trying to get to. But it doesn't really work because it's just like that's like the one thing with like growing up is like you're the person that you become from a child to an adult is defined by your experiences, and Mikla just doesn't have those because Mikla at heart is still a child, and it's like an extremely fucked up situation with like the stuff they're doing versus like the people they hurt, like Melania and Moog and Radon and all these other characters in the Shadowlands. And like some of them still believe in his cause, like Lita, for example. But then you got people like the Hornsent, who he's like super into revenge because his whole people got genocided, and then the son of the woman who ordered his people's genocide just basically brainwashed him. So like, of course this guy is gonna get fucking pissed off. So yeah, and it's just like that's like my controversial Mikla opinion. But how does that relate to Horus? I think like I feel like that's like another like not a crisis of faith, but kind of like there's like a phrase for it, but like that moment in like a story where like the like hero kind of like wants to go over to the antagonist side because the antagonist offers them something that's like so tempting, but they know deep in their hearts that it's kind of like a false promise, even if like the villain has like the intention of going through with what they're promising the hero in return for their like switch the side. I know there's a term for it, I don't remember it, but it's like that kind of moment. And so that would cause Horus to go back to the Lands Between once everything in the Shadowlands is done, and finally give Ronnie the finger blade and let her know, like, hey, this is what I was originally doing, and I've kind of decided that maybe you are right, and maybe like maybe there's like another way of doing things, and like maybe like you had a point with it, but like just kind of like laying it out there. And I think that's like the moment in their story where the like two of them like actually start like getting close enough to each other, or at least like some kind of relationship can form. Because I think like for at least the first half of Ronnie's quest, Horus is just like, I am so suspicious about you. You are giving me all kinds of flags, and I don't understand what the flags mean, but they are flags and they are right there. Is this a red flag? I don't know. I might as well be colorblind. This could be a green flag for all I know. I don't know, because I'm scared. But yeah, and it's just been fun to think about. I did beat the DLC fairly recently, so I am now onto beating my New Game Plus file because I played the DLC on a New Game Plus file. I would not recommend it. It is so hard, but it's done. And that means the next thing I could do, I'm in Farum Azula right now, so I have to fight Meliketh. That's about where I'm at right now. And then later I could go back and, I'm gonna do another round, because I'm currently, so even though I've been speaking the whole time of this is why Horus doesn't side with the Golden Order in their, like, canonical story, I plan on doing a Golden Order ending, just because that's, like, my alternate, like, well, what if Horus doesn't have this character development? Well, my, also, like, this is how Morgott can still live AU. I'm not gonna do that. That hand is way too big. This is how Morgott can win AU, thought process of, well, what if Horus, like, you know, what if Horus does a Golden Order ending? And I know Morgott won't live, even if you do a Golden Order ending, but I can dream. Horus is like the one, not Horus, sorry. Morgott is like the one, like, demigod that I really wish was optional, because I would never do his boss fight. I would do, like, his boss fight up to getting the, I would do his boss fight up to, like, getting, like, the cutscene with him, just to be like, yeah, he's here, and I would just never beat him. I'd be like, I like Goat Dad, because, so here's my one thing that I love doing with, Elden Ring, is, so, for those who are not familiar with Elden Ring, you can, you have 3 options to go fight Morgott. And like at least with 2 of those options, he's not under the name Morgott, he's under his like alias, because he has an alias, he goes by Market. But when you have 3 options to fight him. You can fight him at the beginning of the game at Stormvale Castle. You can also fight him as like a harder boss that's just like out in the middle of nowhere, outside of Leyndell. When you first get into like the first like inner ring of Leyndell, you can go and like you can like find him, and he's like disguised as like one of the like commoner people, and then he'll be like, "Foul tarnish, smoldering with thy flame of ambition," and he'll try to kick your ass. And then, of course, there is when you go through Leyndell and you get to the end and you're like, oh yeah, at the Earth Tree, and he's there and he's like, motherfucker, get out. But yeah, he's like the only demigod where you have to kill him in order to proceed. All the other ones are optional. Now you do need to kill 3 of them to be able to get into Leyndell. However, like you don't like it. You don't have like you. It's not like required to kill certain demigods in order to progress the game. The only one that is required is the Morgott, and I hate it because he is my favorite. I want him to live. I think Morgott should be Elden Lord. That's my opinion. Take it or leave it. I feel so bad for him. Like, my son, please stop with the internalized racism. My poor boy. He doesn't deserve this. But yeah, Morgott for the win. Ah, okie dokie. Oh, I just noticed that Horace is on my ref sheet thing over here. Hey, Horace! But yeah, that's my Elden Ring hot take. Oh yeah, I was talking about Game of Thrones when I was just strung it up into an Elden Ring conversation. But yeah, I was that whole rant about Elden Ring specifically is because I'm doing the comic about Horace talking about their past to Ranni, which I already explained what their past was, so I don't need to explain it again. But that's what it was going to be about, and I'm using it as the background for a Game of Thrones video, because George R.R. Martin worked on Elden Ring, so that's my justification for using it as, like, the background art for it. Also, why is Pacific's phone so big, goddammit? Ah! It's like they're holding a fucking tablet in their hand. I'm yelling at my past self, why did you make that fucking phone so big? Jesus Christ. Anyway, I'm making a Game of Thrones video, and it's gonna be like my first time making like a media analysis video of like a piece of media at least, and like it's not gonna really be like it's gonna be like a pseudo analysis more so of like a critique video, because it's specifically a video about season 8 of Game of Thrones, which if you've never watched Game of Thrones, season 8 is bad. Season 8 is very bad. They basically, if you want like a short like TDLR of what they did wrong, they basically threw character plots out the window, like character development out the window for 2 of their like best storylines, which makes me so salty, because I'm gonna go on to that in a second, but they threw out like the like character development of 2 of their best storylines, just like, you know, threw it out, doesn't exist anymore. butchered a bunch of different characters, like characterizations, put up this like very horrible drama for no reason, and like just like kind of like made a bunch of decisions that either didn't go anywhere or didn't make sense or were just like very contradictory. And I'm rewatching the full show, and I'm now currently on season 8. I just finished season 7. I am now on season 8, and I have like a little notebook. Because I have a bunch of these little notebooks that I got in like back in high school, and I never used them, and so now I finally have a purpose for them, which is because it's not going to be it's not going to be the last one I do, but it certainly is the first one, and I've been writing my notes in them, but this season 8 of Game of Thrones makes me so fucking mad because it's just why you could have done something better. Like, for example, and it's just like, yeah, they make a bunch of decisions that don't make sense, and so let me go into one that doesn't make sense. So, and for this video, I'm not gonna be doing a bunch of stuff with the books. So if you want me to do like stuff with the books, that I've decided is going to wait until I get to, that's gonna be something I'm gonna wait with until like the last books come out. But, the thing with the books is the books are very magical. The books are more fantasy, in my opinion, than the TV show is. The TV show is very political, and I don't mean like in the sense of like US politics. It's mostly like this king fighting this king and this lord fighting this lord, and yeah, there's magic and shit, and that comes up sometimes, but it's not really the focus of the story. As much as I hate that. Like, it very much reads as a story where they're like, fighting for the throne is more important in the show that we titled Game of Thrones, which, by the way, is not the name of the series, of the book series that it was based off of. The name of the book series it was based off of is The Song of Fire and Ice. And like, and it's so hard. And the funny thing is, it's so hard for them to do that. Like, it feels like they had no idea what they were doing with trying to make it more about the politics in the like Game of Thrones universe versus like the actual storyline. Because the biggest issues, arguably, in Game of Thrones isn't like which king gets to sit on this Iron Throne. It specifically is about the Night King and what the Night King is doing, and the fact that there's like an army of zombie people that is like basically allowed to do whatever they want because people don't believe in them anymore because it's been forever since the zombie people showed up. And like the thing that the like people that guard them are like down to like slim pickings, so like yeah, it's gonna be really easy when these zombies decide to cross over this wall, but you know, they don't do that. And they like the show did this thing where it hyped up the like long night, which is the name of like the fight where after the White Walkers have passed. Oh, I'm going to season 8 spoilers, but after the White Walkers have crossed over the wall and they get to Winterfell, where this big fight happens, and they spend a whole episode on this fight. And I'm going to make my joke now. This fight was great if only you were able to see most of it. Yeah, the lighting in that episode is absolutely horrible. It is not that good. It is so bad. But, which by the way, and before anybody gets at me with this, yeah, I get it. It's supposed to be at night, it's supposed to be scary, and there's some parts where you not being able to see anything works. There are very few parts in that episode that I could justify where it works. They're mostly at the beginning, but once they're in the fucking castle having the big old fight, that's my thing, is they're having this big old fight in the middle of the castle. Things are on fire. You should be able to see your setting. D&D. Learn about lighting. Anyway, watch more Lord of the Rings, because apparently you guys never watched Lord of the Rings, but yeah, that's my thing, is that episode is so hard to see. But like, yeah, they did this whole good big epic fight, but this is episode 3 of season 8 when this gigantic, like, very incredibly important fight happens. And I'm already have my plans for the video for how I think about they should go with it, so I'm only going to talk about the stuff that I think they did wrong, rather than like the fixes, at least, because I want to save that for when I do the video, which I'm probably gonna, currently, because I'm almost done with Game of Thrones, might come out in October, but that's a very big might. I actually don't have a month planned for when this video is going to be come out. This video is just more of a, this will come out whenever, because this relies a lot on me having to have, have it all done. But, oh yeah, we finally got the line art done. Woo, let's just save. And it only took over an hour, almost 2 hours. But that my biggest disappointment with season 8 of Game of Thrones is whatever the hell they decided to do with Jaime and Daenerys storylines. And Jaime's is actually, like, between Jaime and Daenerys, actually, I think Jaime's, like, this is just me for reasons that I was, like, thinking about while watching the show and being like, this is, like, one of the only parts that I'm actually gonna bring up, like, the books, and, like, this is why they should have taken more from the books than from the show. So, to give a little input of Jaime's storyline, or at least Jaime as a character, is Jaime's, like, ostracized by, like, a lot. I mean, he's still like, you know, like, this, like, big, really good knight that's, like, super good at fighting, and he's also from a really rich and powerful family, so, like, he can still basically do whatever the hell he wants. But, like, socially, he's pretty much ostracized by, like, a lot of people. Specifically because before the start of the show, he became influenced, and he got, like, infamous, and he got, like, this nickname called the Kingslayer because he had killed the previous king of Westeros before the start of Game of Thrones. The previous king of Westeros was this guy named King Aerys. He was also known as the Mad King, and he got killed by Jaime because Jaime killed him because he wanted Jaime to kill his father. And he was also planning on burning down all of King's Landing, just to kill the, like, rebellion that was happening in his city. And Jaime was like, fuck that, and he ended up killing the Mad King. And, everybody is pissed off at him for it, because he's like, yeah, you served the Mad King. Yeah, we were in rebellion against him, but you also were his knight, and you betrayed your honor as a knight by killing your king. So therefore, we don't like you. And the only reason we're not killing you is because you went and you stopped the Mad King. Like, you killed the Mad King, which is what we were trying to do, and you did the job for us. So yeah, that's why you're not, like, in the dungeon for killing your king. But, like, socially, he's basically, like, an outcast, and there's, like, very few people who, like, you know, don't make fun of him for the fact that he killed his king. Like his brother Tyrion and his sister Cersei. And a lot of, like, his development is, like, cause he's, like, in the, like, beginning of the show, he's very much just, like, aloof character. He's just kind of like, I only care about me and Cersei. We're the only two that matter, and Tyrion, and my family. So really just, like, 4 people. It's like, us, like, me, Cersei, Tyrion, and Tywin, who's their father. We're the only people that fucking matter, and everybody else sucks. Screw the rest of these people. Yada yada yada. And, like, you know, we find out more about his character, and, like, how, like, he hates that people can only, like, see him through the lens of, like, oh, he's the Kingslayer, he's the Oathbreaker, he killed his king, yada yada yada. And he ends up at one point, because he's a prisoner for a bit, and at one point he ends up getting sent home as, like, part of, like, a trade by Catelyn Stark. And she's like, okay, you're going home, but in return, when you go home, I want you to send my daughters home. And he's like, yeah, deal, fine, whatever. And she's like, great, well, to make sure that you go through with this deal, I'm sending you off with my my knight, who is this lady named Brienne. And Brienne is also, like, a character who's, like, she's also, like, from a rich family. She's also, like, pretty well off. Not, like, as well off as, like, a Lannister is, but still pretty well off. And, you know, doing whatever. But she's ostracized because she is not your typical like lady person. Like, she's very masculine. She's not a knight, but she trains like a knight. She fights like a knight. She's very strong. She's a good fighter. But, like, she gets made fun of a lot because she's masculine. So, you know, homophobia. Or actually, that would be more transphobia, but I'm saying homophobia because Brynn is hot, and these people that make fun of her don't understand that. Yeah, so she's transferring around Jaime, and Jaime's, like, you know, making fun of her because she's, like, very masculine, and she's, like, pissy at him because because, like, you know, he's the Kingslayer. And one of, like, part of Brienne's, like, story is that she served this one dude named King Renly, who was one of the kings trying to get the Iron Throne after King Robert dies. And she was in love with Renly, but, like, Renly's, like, gay, so he wasn't, like, really into her. But, like, she was into him because he was, like, the only guy that was, like, actually genuinely nice to her, not because he wanted to make fun of her, despite her being, like, you know, as she is, but because but just because, like, that was the kind of person that Renly was. And she fell in love with him over that. And, so yeah, that's, like, you know, she's like, oh, well, I'm escorting this guy who killed his king. And, like, a lot of shit happens with them. Like, Jaime loses a hand, saving Brienne, from some nasty stuff that is YouTube demonetizable, but I'm not even monetized on this channel, but that's just, if you want an idea of what I'm talking about, there you go. And, the two of them, like, get close, and, like, then Jaime eventually reveals, like, this is the exact reason why I killed, King Aerys, even though I was his knight, and, like, you know, it wasn't, like, me being like, oh, well, I can see that the, because it's very easily readable. It's just like, well, the rebellion's gonna win, so I might as well kill my king, so I'm on the good side, even though Tywin had already, like, betrayed King Aerys for the rebellion. Like, Tywin already did that, and, they just didn't like the fact that, like, a knight would, betray his oath like that. So here's where the books and the show split off. And what I really enjoy, so this is like so I don't generally enjoy shows that rush into a romance. Game of Thrones, at least in this case, in this particular storyline, is not one of those cases, because the books, I'm just gonna talk about the books for a moment. The books very much write a Jaime and Brienne romance. The two of them begin trusting each other, and the two of them become extremely ride or die for each other. And, like, both in the books and the show, Jaime sends Brienne away to go find Sansa and Arya, who are both missing at that point. And he's like, find them and protect them from anyone and anything that could try to hurt them. Because this is the best I can do for Catelyn, now that Catelyn is dead, because Catelyn's dead at this point. And this is the best I can do. And there's some stuff with Catelyn and Jaime that the show completely ignores, because it ignores a whole plotline with Catelyn Stark, but I digress. Anyway, so Brienne goes off and do that, and in the books, they're, like, always constantly thinking about each other. They're like Brienne's, like, one of Brienne's things is that she's still in love with Renly, but, like, Renly's dead at this point, and now she's starting to fall for Jaime, and she's like conflicted with that. In the show, I think they just kind of just like rush into that a little bit too early, in my opinion, but they at least go out of their way of, like, you know, not being like, okay, well, Brienne has feelings for Jaime, so they immediately get together. I like that they still keep it slow, but that's, like, more of a personal taste thing. But here's, like, the one big difference between, like, how they write it for the show and how it's written in the books. And it's all something that has to do with Tyrion, which is in the books. So it happens in the show too, but in the books, Jaime is the one who frees Tyrion when Tyrion was on trial for killing Joffrey, who's his nephew. He also doesn't get along with him. And obviously Tyrion didn't do it, but he was put on trial and they were going to execute him. And Jaime lets him go because he knows that he's innocent. And in the books, one of the things that Tyrion does before he, like, runs away and, like, kills Tywin and Shay and all the other stuff he does afterwards, Tyrion basically, like, they bring up the topic of Cersei comes up, and it's been like 10 years since I read these books, so I don't remember, like, everything he said. But I remember this one bit because this bit repeats through Jaime's mind throughout the rest of the book series that is currently out. But Tyrion, but the topic of Cersei comes up, and, like, if you know anything about Game of Thrones, you know about the incest, and Jaime and Cersei are, like, a thing. Well, Tyrion finds out earlier in the books, or at least in the show and in the books, that Cersei was sleeping with their cousin Lancel. And he doesn't bring this up at all with Jaime, and I don't think Jaime even finds out about this at all in the show, but in the books, when, like, one of the last things Tyrion says to Jaime before he runs away is, hey, you know Cersei is sleeping with Lancel, she doesn't actually care about you. And that's, like, a thing with, like, Jaime and Cersei's relationship, especially in, like, season 7. In season 7, she's just, like, a fucking asshole to him. But, like, they're like, Jaime is, like, starting to notice the red flags in the books, and, like, he's still sticking around and doing stuff with her, and eventually he gets sent off to go do something else. But, throughout like the books after that moment where Tyrion's like, hey, she's sleeping with Lancel, she doesn't give a shit about you, like, that's, like, influencing his, like, whole, like, idea about his, like, relationship with Cersei. And I think the, like, biggest turning point with his character in the books is there's this one moment where he's out in River Run and he gets a letter, and it's after Cersei gets taken in by the High Sparrow, which happens in season 5 of Game of Thrones. But in the books, he's not in King's Landing. He's at the King's Landing, and Cersei was able to send a letter to him, and she's like, hey, I've gotten taken by the High Sparrow. I really need you to come back, and I really need you to come back and help me. I need you to get me out of here. I love you. Please come get me. She, like, you know, that's basically what the letter is like. And, like, it, like, notice that she writes a bunch of, like, I love you. Please come and get me in there. And what Jaime ends up doing in the books is he destroys the letter. And he's just like, well, don't need that. Anyway, going back to doing war shit. And then, like, he finds out, like, he gets, like, a message about Brienne, and he basically runs off after her. That's the last we see of Jaime in the books. In the show, that moment doesn't happen. Because in the show, he's still around in King's Landing, he's still doing King's Landing shit, he's still, like, you know, sleeping around with Cersei, and he, like, gets kicked out of, the King's Guard for, like, attacking the High Sparrow, which that's his charge. He didn't actually do it, but he was about to. Specifically to save, Tommen's wife, but that's another thing. And, but yeah, like, he gets kicked out of that, and then he sent the River Run, and between, like, him leaving River Run and him coming back is when Tommen dies, and the High Sparrow dies, and Queen Marjorie dies, and Cersei becomes Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. That's, like, how season 6 ends. And Jaime doesn't leave Cersei is basically like, fuck you, Cersei. Until season 7. End of season 7. And all through season 7, this makes me so upset. All through season, granted, he kind of deserves it, because Jaime isn't, like, the best person ever. So yeah, but, like, Cersei is so fucking mean to Jaime. And that goes on to another rant of something that I'm going to actually say for my video, because it is very important for, me talking about Daenerys. But, she's like, Cersei is so fucking mean to Jaime in season 7, comparatively to, like, the rest of the show. In the rest of the show. Like, she is so mean to him. So mean to him. And it's, like, for stupid reasons, too, but, like, I mean, he kind of deserves it, but, like, not from Cersei. And it's only until she's like, oh, actually, I'm not going to send my army to stop this army of the undead. And Jaime's like, you're... Like, that's the one thing I don't like with season 7, and especially in season 8, is they make Cersei to be an idiot when they've, like... She's played, like, as such as, like, cool, awesome mastermind throughout, like, a lot of, the show. And then, like, they have moments where she's, like, makes the stupidest fucking decision. And she has done that through the show, I will admit. But, like, only to be in spite with somebody. She only makes stupid fucking decisions when she wants to be spiteful. And it's just, ugh. Like, I ain't going on a whole rant about that. But anyway. So, going back on my Jaime Lannister rant. Oh my goodness. I didn't expect to be ranting about Jaime Lannister tonight, but here we are. So, yeah, so he leaves because she's like, you don't want to fucking fight the Night King. She's like, well, whichever army wins can come to King's Landing. And it's like, if you remember Game of Thrones correctly, King's Landing is in the south! Which means you are going to have hundreds of thousands of miles, probably not hundreds of thousands of miles, but thousands of miles between the Winterfell and the Wall and King's Landing, which means, Cersei, how many people are between Winterfell and King's Landing? Tell me about that, Cersei, from a fucking, your enemy, Cersei, can make people come back from the dead. How many people is that gonna be, Cersei? Between Winterfell and King's Landing. Let me pull up a fucking map. Cersei, give me a fucking second. We're looking at this shit. Hold on. Give me a Game of Thrones map. Come on a second. Hold on. Okay, I need one that shows... okay. That one doesn't have the full map. No, I don't fucking care. Give me Winterfell. No, hold on, I'm mad. I'm mad about this. I am so mad about this right now. Oh my goodness, I just want a map with all the country locations. That's so fucking hard to ask for. This is an eBay ad. I don't want an eBay ad. I just want a map. This is an Amazon ad. It's not what I want. Oh my god, finally. Okay, we're gonna look at this shit really quick. Hold on a second. So, let me pull it up. Okay. So, let's look at this shit. This is the wall. There are Nightwalkers up here, right? So that's where the White Walkers are at. I called them Nightwalkers on accident. In the show, they walk from the fucking wall down to Winterfell. So there you go, from here to here. And we know they fucking killed a bunch of people on that way, because that's like a thing that the show highlights, right? So Cersei, please tell me, how do you plan on dealing with an army full of dead people, with a guy who could bring back more dead people, when you got this teeny little area? You're only ruling, like, at this point, like, what was it, like, these three? No, not even those three. No, because that's, the Eyrie. Like, you got Riverrun, you got the I don't know, it's the Iron Islands in the Westerlands. Oh yeah, okay, so yeah. You got everything but this. Actually, no, you got everything here. And then you just got this. So you basically only got that. And I think you got this area, but I'm not 100% certain about that. Anyway, so yeah, that's all you got, right? How do you plan on fighting an army full of dead people from all of this in your teeny tiny little Cersei city? Fuck. Huh? Explain to me, Cersei Lannister! How do you plan on fighting this many dead people? Cersei, explain! Explain! Made me so fucking mad. Like, Cersei, honey, sweetie, why are you this stupid sometimes? So yeah, no, so my point is, that, Cersei's plan is go. And that's what makes Jaime leave, right? So we get into season 8. We get into season 8. And, we get into season 8. And in season 8, like, Jaime shows up, and he's like, yo, I'm here to fight the White Walkers. So they're like, is that it? And he's like, yeah, my sister fucking duped you guys. I know, she fucking sucks. Anyway, where's Brienne? And then we get, like, you know, we get the fight with the Night King, and Arya kills him, and we're like, woo, Arya, yay! So now it's going into, like, okay, so where do we go from here? Oh yeah, we gotta fucking kill Cersei for what she did. And Jaime and Brienne hook up, which is like, yeah, Jaime and Brienne hook up. Yay! They hook up, and it's like so good because they deserve each other. They're so good for each other. Anyway, and then in that episode, I was like, yay, Brienne and Jaime hook up. Yay, they're a couple. Yay! And then Jaime's like, I'm still in love with Cersei. I'm gonna go back to Cersei. And then, like, later he gets caught trying to go back to Cersei. And then he's like, fuck all the people, I just want Cersei. And it's like, what? When did this happen? Jaime! And, like, I don't think he would do that. And, like, here's the thing. I would forgive that. I would have forgiven that if they had a reasonable justification for him to do something like that. They did not. They did not. They had no reasonable justification. They literally were just like, well, if he had Jaime just go like, oh, I'm still in love with Cersei, and then he just goes back to her, like, the fans are gonna love it. No. No, they're not. No, they're not, because, hey, D&D, your fans understand character writing. And most of us can agree that Jaime would not fucking do that. He wouldn't do that. He may be an asshole and he fucking sucks, but he's better than that. So, yeah. I'm angry about that. I'm so angry about that. That is why, like, and like the other one that makes me angry is Daenerys' arc. I think Daenerys, like, Jaime has the worst end of the stick in my opinion, but Daenerys is really bad because the only reason Daenerys' arc is not, like, at least in my opinion, is not worse than Jaime's with how D&D decided to, like, enter story, which is criminal. How they decided to enter story is because, at the very least, they could have justified the decisions they made if they actually had build up to it, which they didn't. They very much, like, the direction they went with her plot was very much just, like, out of the blue. But it was, like, a plot line that was based off of, like, a bunch of shit characters were saying to, like, be assholes to Daenerys. That's, like, you could have justified this if you had in any way, shape, or form had put stuff in the plot to make it make sense for this for her story to end up like this. But you didn't. So now it doesn't make sense. It's very much, it's just very much bad writing. Like, because a lot of, like, Daenerys', like, whole thing is, she's like, I want to, like, change the world for the better, and I want to help people, And like, yeah, I have violent tendencies, and I know that, so I surround myself with people who keep that in check. And I very much like know when I have to step in and do the dirty, gritty work. But I also know when I need to step down and listen to people when they tell me to not do the like horrible shit that I'm prepared to do. And that's like a lot of her character. She very much knows how to put herself into checks and balances. And to me, at least, what would have been interesting is if they put her in a situation where she doesn't have somebody to tell her not to do this horrible thing that she wants to do because it will get her results faster and easier than making more difficult, riskier decisions that in the past she sometimes has had to make, and they most of the time have worked out in her favor, such as when she was prepared to go to King's Landing to directly to the Red Keep just to kill Cersei, and instead of doing that, she attacked High Garden instead, where the army was at. And like stuff like that. Like she's and they do put her in a position where like a lot of her like advisors and stuff are either like working against her stuff for stupid fucking reasons, may I ask. Like I said, they do not build up to this arc at all. And like some of the characters who make these decisions to be like, oh, Daenerys is bad, with like very little justification to immediately make that switch, other than her being like, I'm gonna be queen, ha. And it's like motherfucker, like half of these fucking this whole fucking show. The plotline happened because some idiot out there went, I'm going to be a king or a queen. And then another person's like, well, I'm gonna stab you about it. Like, oh, I'm sorry that Daenerys being like, I'm gonna sit on the Iron Throne, like, makes you so upset. But, my voice is going because I've been screaming about this show too much. But now you guys are going to understand my pain very soon. I've been writing a script for it. I'm like about to go into like my own little individual like, this is what season 8 got right about this one character. This is what season 8 got wrong about this other character. The only characters in season 8 that I feel like didn't get the worst in terms of writing, the only ones, I can go on the whole rant about Melisandre and Grey Worm. Those aren't the two I'm thinking of. Those are two whose basically I think D&D did them so fucking dirty. D&D did them so fucking dirty. I have a whole rant about that, but I'm saving that for my video because my rant about Melisandre specifically it relies on like a point I'm gonna make about Viserys as well, that for something that I think would have worked better for what they wanted to try going for. And I'm going to save it for that, but the only two characters who I think actually like did not have the worst in terms of writing are Arya and the Hound. Like my controversial opinion about the season 8 is I personally do not mind the fact that Arya was the one to kill the Night King. I do not mind it at all. I think between like all the characters in Game of Thrones, Arya is the only character that makes sense who isn't Jon or Daenerys to kill the Night King. I think like if it was any other character, I would have been like, why did this fucker kill? Like if it was any other character that wasn't Jon or Daenerys, because I know everybody's like, oh, it should have been Jon or Daenerys, which logically with everything the show set up, yeah, it should have been Jon or Daenerys. But I think if they were going to go with any character that wasn't Jon and Daenerys, Arya was the only one that makes sense because of like what her whole storyline is about. And I think that would have made sense for her to be the character that kills the Night King. However, there is a writing choice with her story, a couple of writing choices actually, that they made with her storyline that don't make fucking sense, or were just like shoved in for no fucking reason. That like, literally they shove it in just for no fucking reason. They do not go anywhere. That I am going to go about in my video, so I'm going to save it for that. But hers isn't like the worst one. The Hound's isn't either. I think the Hound was probably like the least worst one of all the character writing for like the direction of these characters' story arcs, because his storyline at least went to the conclusion that like I mean it isn't good because I expected it, but like with like what his story was building up to, the most like logical direction, which is I figured he was going to die fighting the mountain, and that's what they ended up, you know, doing with his character arc. And like him getting killed in the fire, kind of was like a little extra on top of that. But it was a direction that made sense, for him to die fighting the mountain, and like for him and the mountain to like kill each other, like that makes sense. And it was a very like neat little wrap up. Now there is some stuff with his there's like one specific thing with his storyline that I think they shouldn't have done. But it really isn't like, it really isn't the worst. I don't think his was the, like, I think his is the only one that actually like didn't make me mad at all. Like that I watched and I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Okay, this is good. So you guys will get that. God, I've been spending like most of this screaming about Game of Thrones. I'm sorry if you guys aren't into my Game of Thrones rants. Don't worry, I will be making a whole video about it. Taking a moment to stretch out a little bit. Okay. Now we're on the coloring. I actually might stop here for the night because I'm really tired and my back hurts and my neck hurts. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I do want to stream some more. I just have to get off my ass and get ready, especially like Fallout. I have to get back to my Fallout streams. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. I hope you guys had a good one and have a good night.